Is a guaranteed basic income a better option than a network of social safety net programs?
I think better social safety net programs would be better, because when you have that guaranteed source of income, chances are that's just ending up in some company's pocket, whether it's revenue or going right to the CEO. Whereas if we have these basic social services, then there's a nice foundation that we can build off of.
I think it depends what's connected to the guaranteed basic income. I think there should be some sort of an expectation connected to that, like giving back to your community in some fashion.
Like volunteer work or, yeah.
I'm a former social worker, so I worked with a lot of people who I used to connect with community resources, and I believe in supporting people to a minimum income level, but I've not bought full stop. And I also think it probably might be helpful to have some expectations come back, right? To learn some skills, to build confidence, a bit of a routine.
Because in small towns, they don't have a lot of programs. And even in a big city, it's hard to connect and find out names and where they are. That's why I say guaranteed income.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it probably is. I'm not familiar with all the research on that, but from what I've heard, I think it's probably a good idea to consider. I know it's expensive to support people through medical services and police services and correction services. So I think some kind of guaranteed supplement could be useful for that in terms of overall cost to society as well as services to those that need that.
I like the guaranteed basic income myself.
And I'm the opposite, like the programs.
And why? It's worked in Europe, so I wouldn't be opposed to trying it.
Well, we need programs in Canada. That's my thoughts on it. So that's what I go with.
No. It's socialism. And socialism has proven it doesn't work. People have come to this country fleeing socialism. Let's leave it at that.
I would say guaranteed basic income, because it gives you a mean to get up out of your bed in the morning and go work for what you want in your life.
I agree with that. Gives you a base. You can always build on it later.
Yeah. And you can always have a sense of accomplishment for yourself. And then that in turn would just make you feel better as a person and mentally better.
No, I don't believe so at all. Because I think what it actually does, it makes some people end up being not wanting to go back into the workforce, and actually starts to make them lazy. I mean, for lack of any other, and then they're relying on too much social assistance and not being productive in what they could be if they chased, perhaps a career that they were interested in. So I think it's lacking that way.
People need to be able to think critically. And when things are just constantly, more and more is given, and you're told, in a sense, even maybe not really out front, but quietly, over the years, people have just, it seems that people aren't thinking critically. And that robs them of a lot of maybe self-fulfillment and working and finding satisfaction and working and earning for themselves and being proud of doing a good day's work, that kind of an idea.
I think it's definitely an idea worth exploring, with like limitations on who's receiving it income-wise, but it could, in my brief understanding, help with the social network. Yeah.
I would say it'd be really hard to implement, but I love the idea.
I like the idea of a guaranteed basic income, because it allows people to spend money, and it, raises the economy can get better, etc. That's my view. I'm not sure if it will be better than what we have now, but I think it certainly will improve some things. Yes?
I'm not quite in agreement. I think it's worthy of to explore the option and compare it with all the different safety nets. We've always had a problem with everybody gets the same thing regardless, but I think it should be something that's explored, because I think there is a problem with a myriad of, let's call it safety nets, and then there's always somebody falling between the cracks. So I think it's worthy of consideration, but I'm not 100% on board.
I believe a basic guaranteed income would work. Yeah, I think so. I don't see why not. As long as it works out in most places. Like for us, we're from the Yukon, and so a basic guaranteed income would kind of be helpful for us. It's pretty brutal up there, you know. It's a lot more north.
I lean left, so I can see how there is some attraction to that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know there have been some experiments, especially in Quebec, attempting to approximate this. I'd like to see more on that before I could make a decision. You don't want to take people's ambition out of the equation.